As a drummer, you will find yourself in acoustic gigs or other scenarios where a drum kit would simply be too big or too loud, or you simply are looking for a different sound. Let me give you some ideas what you can do in those scenarios.
Art of Drumming is not just a YouTube channel, but also a free platform where you can find numerous drum-related courses filmed by major international artists. Head on over and join our growing community.
Hey, it's Andy here with Art of Drumming, and today it's all about this percussion setup. Thomann was kind enough to send us some of their percussion products, some cajons, some cymbals, and I just want to take you through the process of coming up with this kit. And on the way there, I want to give you some ideas how you can come up with alternative setups to a drum kit that work well in a low noise scenario, in an acoustic gig scenario, or when you're simply just looking for a different sound. Let's get started with the first and maybe the most obvious alternative to a drum kit, using only a cajon. For me, the easiest and most compact way to play an acoustic gig was always to simply bring a cajon. Here we got a bass boost cajon with those little air holes down here. And this one really creates a lot of bass. Where with other cajons you have the hole in the back. Now you got it on the front, and so if you're playing for an audience, for example, and you don't have a microphone involved, you really get the bass of the cajon to the people. Still, you got a nice and clear snare sound. And a nice separation between bass and snare. And those are also the two sounds you need if you want to translate a drum groove to the cajon. I, for example, play the bass drum with my right hand and the snare with my left hand, and in between I have the chance to fill in some ghost notes to, for example, create the feeling of a hi-hat playing. Let me just quickly give you an idea of what a drum groove sounds played on a cajon. Of course, this is a great way to get through a gig, and it won't get more compact than this. You don't need any hardware, you don't need any cymbals, any drums, anything. Only this one wooden box and you're set. But after a while, the sound possibilities you have with the cajon are pretty limited, and you might find yourself in a situation where you simply want more options. So now let me take you through some ideas how you can create a percussion set around this cajon. So now here I got 3 tools that you can use to enhance the sound possibilities of a cajon. The first is a little shaker. In this case, it's a little mini cajon. And that's just great to add some texture and also to be able to play some longer notes, since all the cajon strokes are pretty short. So just adding a nice little texture to your groove is a very nice addition to your sound arsenal. Now, another thing you can do is playing the cajon with a rod. You just get a different sound because wood on wood sounds different than your hands on wood. And now the third and maybe the most important option here is bringing in a cajon pedal. This just attaches to your cajon, and now you're able to play the bass with your foot, and you got both your hands free for some other stuff. So let me quickly give you an example of what this sounds like with the pedal, the rod, and a little shaker. Now, another reason why I chose this combination is because now my hands can play the stuff that they're used to play on a kick snare head kit. My right hand plays the hi-hat pattern, my left hand plays the snare, my right foot plays the bass drum. So there's not that much new to learn for this one. But now let's go ahead and find some more sounds that we can add to this setup. Now this flat cajon is a great addition to the first cajon because you get a similar sound with a little higher pitch, and also since we already got the pedal in place, we got our hands free and we can play up here, which is just a lot more comfortable to play, and you get a better separation of the bass sound down here and the snare sounds up here. Let me just play a few bars for you. For me, this little setup with the bass cajon down here and the flat cajon up here is a lot of fun to play. It feels better for my back than to sit like this all the time. And you can get quite a lot of snare sounds out of this little instrument. Also, you could take this flat cajon as a single instrument, and just the shape of it makes it possible that you can slide it into every backpack and just have it with you wherever you go. So this is a pretty nice companion for you to have with you if you think about playing acoustic gigs, for example. Now, since I'm playing with the hands, we could also add some new sound colors by just playing with some rods, for example. So here's an example of me playing with some rods and also bringing back some small percussion. As you might have witnessed, my left foot still has no job to do. So let's find something to place here. Now the next and obvious step is to bring in some cymbals. Here I got a 13-inch hi-hat, a 10-inch splash and a 16-inch crash. For exact models, check out the description below. We already had the rods and the bass drum pedal playing the cajon as a bass drum. So now is the time where you can simply just play this percussion setup like a regular drum kit, but with a completely different sound. So let me just quickly give you an example of what this kit sounds like and what other sound colors you now have to offer for example, an acoustic singer-songwriter gig. Also, bringing back some small percussion adds even more colors to your playing and offers a lot of more sounds. Now let's go on to the final step of this video. Now we already had the cajon with the pedal, we had the snare, the flat cajon, two cymbals and a hi-hat. Now it's time to add even more sound colors to this setup. So the one I came up with was adding a 10-inch steel snare, and with a little mini muff up here, you got 4 different sounds. First is a completely open sound without the snares engaged. The second option is to engage the muffling. So you get still the open sound with no snares engaged, but it's now a muffled, it's more a shorter sound. Then you have the open snare sound with the snares engaged and no muffling. And then the muffled snare sound. So this single drum adds a lot of color to this setup and opens up a lot of possibilities and really sparks your creativity for new grooves, for new patterns, for just a new sound color. So let me just play a few bars for you so that you get an idea what you can do with this setup, with this snare. A multi-percussion pad, for example, a sample pad, would be a perfect addition as well, because you can add whatever sounds you want with this. Also, for example, bongos or congas would work great as an addition. Simply feel free to add whatever instrument you want and check out what ideas come up and what sounds you can create with the setup you end up with. Now it's your time to come up with your own signature setup. What other instruments would you like to add? Which setup did you like best? Let us know in the comments, and also subscribe for more videos like this one in the future.